How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back using Fireball into rocket balloons in Legends, and as you can see, I finished top 200 global last season on one of my accounts. On another one of my accounts, I finished top 400, which was pretty decent as well. So overall, a very good season. But in today's video, I'll be bringing you guys the attacks from my top 200 account, and yeah, some of the attacks were pretty nerve-wracking. Not seeing the bases before, fresh bases. One of the bases actually baited my healers right from the get-go with a red mine farm, so I had to adjust. So yeah, quite a nerve-wracking day of attacks, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a like and a comment. It's very much appreciated. And also feel free to subscribe because we are nearing in on that 5,000 subscriber mark, after which I can apply for official creator, which means basically I can bring you guys giveaways and stuff like that on behalf of Supercell. But yeah, having said that, let's dive right into the first attack. All right, so first up, double rage base. One thing to mention is that I did not do any live commentary for that final day because I just wanted to fully focus on the attacks themselves. So in today's video, I'll just be doing voiceovers, hopefully trying to explain the attacks in more detail and yeah, more clearly, basically. But yeah, looking at this base, the fire spitters, I was clicking on the fire spitters, I was thinking like, yeah, okay, if I Warden charge into this rage spell compartment, which I decided to go for anyways. If I Warden charge it, I'm gonna have to face one of the spitters, which yeah, is gonna make my life a little bit more difficult than it would if the spitters were facing away from the Warden. But there's a lot of targets here. I mean, I could hit the scatter shot, right? That would get the CC, which is one of my main targets. Or I could hit the Rage Spell Tower, which would get the Fire Spitter, which is also one of the main targets if the Fire Spitter is facing the Warden. Um, but for this particular attack, I just decided to go for that. I just decided to go for that Scatter Shot, taking out that CC nice and early, and obviously getting really, really good value. Now the Warden, I kind of want him to go left here just so that he can stay away, or at least at some point stay away from that fire spitter. But as you will see, these buildings at the bottom are going to cause a few issues. I should have dropped a couple of archers there right before. That way my Warden would not have backtracked. But yeah, as you see, the Warden is going right into the fire spitter. And yeah, it's a lot of damage. I tried to pull him out. I hit the NATO. Freeze the town hall. Yeah, pretty nerve-wracking. At that point, I was, yeah, pretty nervous that my Warden was going to die because yeah, that NATO was definitely not ideal to be faced in that compartment. But yeah, the timing of spells was good. So I managed to keep the Warden up and yeah, just starting the heroes at this point because it was around 130 when I started, I think. So I kept an eye out on the Warden while he was in damage, making sure that I don't start the heroes because yeah, multitasking the heroes and a lot of damage on the Warden is tricky to say the least. So I'm gonna wait it out as much as possible. And yeah, once I actually get the value from the Warden, it's actually quite easy. You just send in your heroes and yeah, I see on the back end to clean up and then you should be good to go. All right, so next up, core rage base, which was actually I've never seen this base before, but yeah, obviously it's not defending fireball, right? One of the buildings, if you hit one of the buildings in the core beside that rage tower, you're pretty likely to triple this base no matter what you do, as long as you're able to keep the Warden up and as long as you're able to deliver that fireball. Now, I decided to go from the bottom side with the Warden. Um, Reason being is there is a double X-bow setup, as you can see at kind of that right side and the left side of the base. So charging into a double X-bow plus the scatter shot plus a hero is probably not your best move. Not the best idea because you're going to have to invest a freeze and a rage pretty quickly. And you have to be pretty on point with those to not lose the Warden in a split second. But from the bottom side, it's quite nice. Also, going behind the fire spitters, right? That's again another thing that I always look for. Waiting out the jelly. Jelly runs out. And actually, I noticed at that point, okay, I'm going to take out the arch tower and I can just directly fireball here onto one of the spitters, which is perfect, right? It gets a crap ton of value. And yeah, then I can have a pretty decent warden charge to the left side where the warden is actually just going to take on one expo at a time, which is again something that you should look for if you're warden charging. Try not to charge into double expo if you can avoid it. Um, but yeah, starting the heroes from uh, kind of the 3 o'clock area, very chill. The warden is fairly fine as well. He's just investing a rage into him to keep him up, and yeah, hopefully the heroes will actually lure the CC, and of course not. They get a pretty toxic CC, as you can see. This headhunter CC, I have to freeze. So yeah, pretty tricky. You have to be pretty attentive with the clan castle because you have to pretty much always poison the furnace. And yeah, in this case, I had to also freeze just because of that headhunter. So, um, but yeah, apart from that, even if I did lose the warden, I think this would have still gone through, honestly, because that invis spell tower does not really do anything. Um, Kind of just delays the inevitable. Here, my royal champion snipes the town hall, and yeah, we get a pretty easy triple. So, next up, we find Gaku, who I believe this account was, or this attack was done on the second last day of the season, so it wasn't on the last day, but it was done on the account that finished inside top 200. Uh, but looking at the base itself, it's yeah, you get quite a good fireball value, honestly, even if you go from the 12 o'clock side and fireball potentially um, the builder hut beside the inferno. But most times on these bases, I simply opt to go for the clan castle fireball just because it's just, yeah, a big pain if the warden lures it out at some point during the attack. So I try to get rid of it if possible. Now here I am taking my time, making sure that the jelly expires so that the warden or the jelly doesn't pull the CC itself. So as you'll see right here, 27 seconds, 26, 25, okay, 25, the jelly expires. I pull the fireball and yeah, looking pretty decent here. Now, Headhunter for the king, deal with him and pull the warden to the top side. Now, honestly, at that moment, I was thinking, okay, I could have actually made my warden go around a little bit. I could have actually made him go down towards 6 to just take out trash buildings and stay on the outside, which is also a good option, honestly, because he's going to stay outside of the any damage for a long time, and then you can just hero dive potentially into that queen section at the top. Uh, but yeah, I placed my baby dragon. I funneled him towards that side. It's also fine, but it's a little bit more damage. As you can see, I have to yeah, really pay attention because it's very easy to lose him if you don't. At the same time, yeah, hero diving. Here, I have to try to funnel the heroes in, so I place a few rocket balloons to snipe off that Tesla and the baby dragon to kind of eventually push my queen towards the town hall, right? And yeah, zooming out all the way, keeping an eye out on the warden because might still get into some trouble here with the arch tower on the back end and the multi-gear tower. Or sorry, not the multi-gear tower, the ricochet cannon. But honestly, everything is just collapsing in. Just send in the RC and yeah, we also get the triple on this base. Alright, so this was one of the most nerve-wracking attacks of the season for sure. One of them. Especially with it being on the very last day. Keep an eye out on where I place my warden here. Looking at it, I want to fireball the spitter potentially. But you'll see I place the Warden, healers, 2 red bombs. I catch 2 red bombs right off the get-go, which basically means there's more, right? So if I didn't react in that moment, I would have lost all of my healers in the first 5 seconds of the attack. So that definitely got my heart rate up. And honestly, I should have pulled the fireball right here, taken out the CC, taken out all that stuff. But I was a little bit panicked and I think, yeah, a little bit thrown off. So, um, yeah, I end up actually not fireballing what I intended to and pulling out the CC. And at this point, I'm just fighting the CC, right? I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I gonna fireball? I decide to go for an easy fireball simply for pathing. That's all, just for pathing, so I could actually have my wooden path towards 12 o'clock. Um, Maybe looking back at it, I could have fireballed the scatter shot beside the royal champion. I think that would have gotten more value, right? Um, but in the heat of the moment, I just went, okay, I'll do an easy fireball, one invis, easy, and get it over with, and you know, funnel the warden to the top side and just start the heroes because, quite frankly, you don't need huge amount of fireball value, especially if you've already taken out the CC manually, right? With the warden, I mean. Um, and yeah, I'm just gonna rely on keeping the warden up during the attack because that will be 100% necessary because the fireball value wasn't too great. Um, but also just getting good value with the hero dive. The druids are definitely going to help because the druids are really, really good for that. You know, they really keep up the mirrored queens. As you see, I pop the queen quite early usually, and I rely on the druids to have that heal bounce, whatever it's called, right, to keep the queens up, and it usually works out quite well. Sending the RC on the back end, and actually, yeah, this attack looks like a complete overkill, right? Like even with that dodgy fireball that only got a multi gear tower and a poison tower, and that's it, you know. But it's still a pretty convincing triple. All right, so double rage. I've faced this base before and I've actually failed, so I was like that adds a little bit more pressure because knowing that you've already failed against a base that actually looks quite easy, right? If you fireball one of the infernos, maybe or scattershot would be great, right? Um, so I failed it before, so there was a little bit of an element of pressure, I guess, added onto that. Um, but staying composed, going into double expo, which at the start of the video I said you don't want to do, but in this case I just went for it because the expo was going to be down pretty quickly, right? It was taken out in the first, like, what was it, 5 seconds or whatever of the warden charge. And yeah, looking for fireball value, I was aiming for that scatter shot, which I've set up my warden charge pretty well to fireball it. Um, Going very safe here. I mean, I probably could have just sniped out that air defense and just done a fireball directly onto the scatter shot, but yeah, better be safe than sorry. So I just invest 2 invis, get the fireball value, very good, and yeah, at this point, have the warden go down and hero dive from the very top side into that king and the minion. Um, Also, what I like to do often is invest that early rage spell into the hero dive, just to kind of push through the um, heavy compartments that I might be charging into. So in this case, there was quite a lot of defenses, obviously, as you saw. Also, 2 defending heroes. Here, man, that was very close. I really had to react on that part to keep the warden up. And again, I have to invest more spells because he's going into this stupid ass monolith, which is just completely cooking him up. Um, but I managed to keep him up, and he's going to take out that mono. Quake on the back end for the Royal Champion. As I always say, really, really good value for the Quake. as it gives those rocket spears extra shots basically, or it gives the world champion extra shots with her equipment. Um, and yeah, we managed to clutch this up as well. So this type of base, I'm sure a lot of you guys have faced this base before, and it's actually a pretty toxic one to Warden charge because usually you have two X-bows in close proximity beside that rage spell compartment, both rage spell compartments actually. So you're basically forced to Warden charge into a double X-bow plus all the damage that might be around that rage spell tower. So what I usually do is I take that long route, and there's usually some wizard towers beside that mono compartment, which I like to snipe out to buy the warden a little bit of time for the jelly to wear out. And as you see, like I cut off 20 seconds at this point. Now double X-bow locks on. Instead of raging, at this point I invis over the warden so that again my jelly stalls just a little bit more so that my warden stays outside of the damage area. And now, obviously, I'm forced to rage, but as you see, the warden is outside of the damage. And I can quite easily set up a fireball. Now, in this case, I go for that ricochet cannon to take out both scatter shot, or not scatter shots, both fire spitters. Um, because if I hadn't taken out at least the fire spitter that was facing my warden, it would have just continuously shot my warden, and my warden would not have pat there at all. So it would have been a massive issue, and it might have taken out my healers potentially afterwards. So yeah, definitely fireballing that ricochet cannon, or yeah, that ricochet cannon was the move in that case. Now the CC obviously is going to get lured out by the warden, which is fine. He's not in too much damage. So a rage spell, again, if the furnace wasn't there, a rage spell would not be necessary, but I go extra safe. I invest a rage spell anyways into him. At the same time, yeah, trying to push the heroes into the core here. And you have to be very careful because there's a lot of damage for the heroes. As you see, I popped the queen ability quite early, and I keep an eye out on the queen here because if you don't keep an eye out on the queen clones, they're going to get melted instantly. If you don't keep an eye out, if you don't freeze or invis where necessary. In this case, I did not have to actually invis or freeze anything. Um, but on some variations of this base, you really have to freeze over, potentially scatter shots or whatever that might be locked onto your queen clones. Uh, but pretty comfortable triple here. So let's dive into the next attack. All right, so again, another double rage base. This one I've never seen before, but it does look quite toxic to charge, especially if you don't manage your jelly. So exact same plan. I will charge from that 6 o'clock compartment. Um, there should be no NATO in that area as well because there's a Giga Bomb. So yeah, having the Giga Bomb there, um, meaning you're not going to encounter the NATO, which is also some part of why I choose to go from 6 rather than from the 9 o'clock side. Um, but as I said, it's very important that you manage the jelly, so you don't rage the warden unnecessarily. You don't let the warden dive too deep into the core because he's not going to keep up with the damage. Um, no matter how many spells you invest, right? It's going to be a lot of damage on the warden, and you're not going to have fun. Um, but here, 25 seconds, he does step in, and I invis over him to cover for some damage, and just directly fireball. Really good value, and yeah, as you see, I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, I took out most of the major defenses, or half of the major defenses with that fireball. Um, and yeah, just letting my warden go down that left hand side, which is really easy. I mean, looks pretty easy, right? You have not many major defenses on that area in that area. and starting the heroes at kind of the same exact approach as the last base. Now I do end up sniping at that mono, and there was one issue, or actually a few issues in particular. I do lure out the CC, which I mean is a little bit sketchy because of that furnace, and it's like I was a little bit worried that the healers were going to get hit by the furnace. So maybe sniping out that mono wasn't the best option. But here the queen tracks back. She steps away from the king. King gets ability forced. I don't know why I froze here. I was a little bit panicked. Also looking at the warden, he's getting cooked. I have to rage the warden here, but I don't. I miss the warden. I panic invis on the queen. She's about to die. All her clones are dead. And I have no more invis. I don't have any free spells because I just completely swagged an invis on the warden and the king. And yeah, I send my royal champion for the final defenses in that compartment. Still, I needed a triple. So I was going for the triple anyway. I wasn't gonna let the queen die at that point and get like a high percent too. So I was going for the triple here, all or nothing. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, with those with the poor spell management, I managed to fail this attack. So it's pretty easy to lose your cool here and mess up your invis or freeze timing. So you have to be very careful. So this was the final attack of the season, and yeah, having failed on that rage base earlier on today, or earlier on that day, I felt extra pressure in this case because if I got the triple, that would mean I would secure a guaranteed top 200 finish. If I didn't, I would go outside of top 200. So there was a lot of pressure on the line, and yeah, again, doing the same exact approach. Um, Maybe I could have gone for the mono, honestly, behind, like, the warden would have stepped behind the two spitters, but I just go for the exact same plan. Make sure to rage through the double X-bow. In this case, plus there's a fire spitter, which is putting extra damage onto my warden. But we keep our composure. We get through this kind of a little bit toxic area. And invising the warden here just to be safe, because I think that X-bow and the fire spitter would have actually gotten my warden down if I didn't do that. Nice fireball onto the rage tower, and now just focusing on funneling the warden as usual to the bottom side, and hero diving into the final rage compartment. Now have to wait a little bit longer, and yeah, as you see, my warden decides to switch up on me. So I have to change the plan here. I have to fight the CC, and I have to fight the mono at the same time. So what I decide to do is I decide to put a baby dragon on the left side. That way I can directly target that mono, because as you see, the warden is actually fighting the CC while taking monolith damage. So I snipe out the mono with a bunch of Rocketloons here to help the warden out, and do the hero dive. This approach works pretty well, actually. Um, in this case, it does help because the fire spitter is pointing away from the warden, as you see. So the area is raged up. I think the Rocketloon actually pulled out rage spell tower, and this fire spitter, the fire spitter is facing away, which is the main thing that is going for me at this point. Um, but honestly, there is a very annoying split here with the queen. The queen just stepped into that compartment, which ends up pulling the warden. And there's quite a bit of panic at this point because as you see, there's quite a few defenses still left. I do have the royal champion ability, which is good, obviously. But I have to make sure the queen stays up at least, so that she can take out that final compartment, because the RC is not going to live for long with that Giga Bomb around. As you see, I'm kind of just panicked all over the place trying to place cleanup down because there's 16 seconds left, looking for any cleanup that I might have missed. And yeah, with 10 seconds remaining, we get the triple and we secure the top 200 finish.